It was the kind of morning that made you believe something irreversible was about to happen. Not because of the weather, it was mild and gray, the sky bruised with low-hanging clouds that threatened nothing in particular, but because of the quiet. The town felt suspended. Even the birds seemed to hush themselves as they circled above the old chapel on Elm Street. That's where the funeral was held, and I was there, not inside, not even on the steps. I was across the street, seated on a damp bench behind the bus, stop shelter watching through the street glass, watching people gather to mourn me. I remember gripping the wooden bench so tightly I thought my fingernails might crack, not out of grief, not out of fear, out of disbelief, out of the sharp, surreal dislocation of knowing that every tear spilled today was over the wrong woman in the coffin, and yet, somehow also for me. My name, at least the one they said I had, was Alison Sharpe. 32, nurse, lived alone, reported missing 2 weeks ago, found in a shallow grave just off Millstone Trail, except I wasn't in the ground. I was here, breathing, and not sure for how much longer. When I vanished, I hadn't expected anyone to look. The truth was, I tried to disappear. That was the plan, but someone beat me to it. They disappeared me first. I spotted Carla first, my sister, exiting the black sedan in a stiff charcoal dress that she wore like it was stapled to her. Her face was unreadable, almost too perfect, the kind of compose that only comes from deep surgical control over emotion. I knew that face. It was the one she wore at Dad's funeral, when she gave a eulogy that made the room believe she was fine, and then threw up behind the choir stand. Behind her walked my mother, stooped and older than I remembered. Her left hand trembled as she clutched a worn purse, the same one she carried at every major event. I wanted to run to her. I couldn't. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't yet know who was in that casket, and what they'd done to make it look like it was me. It started with a phone call. I was staying at a friend's cabin. Off-grid, no internet, barely a signal. I needed time away, from work, from Carla, from what happened at the clinic. I was only supposed to be gone a week. Then the phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. I answered out of instinct. "Is this Alison Sharpe?" The voice was male, professional, but something about the tone made my scalp prickle. "Yes, this is Detective Marlowe with the county police. A pause. "I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but we've identified your body." I remember the silence. Then the ringing. Then the sharp taste of metal at the back of my tongue. I didn't say anything. I think I forgot how. "Hello? What did you say?" "Oh, we have confirmation that the remains found on Millstone Trail match your profile. Dental records mostly. There's some confusion, obviously, but we'd like you to come in and—" "I'm alive," I said. What the hell are you talking about?" But he'd already hung up. That night, I took the risk of driving back to town. Not to my apartment. That was out. If someone had buried a body under my name, there was no telling what else they'd set up. I went to the only person I thought I could trust. Jonah. We weren't together anymore, not really. He was the type to leave things open, but he'd always been protective in a way that made me feel like I could breathe. When I showed up at his doorstep at 1:43 a.m., dirt smudged and shaking, he didn't ask questions, just made me tea. "They said I'm dead," I told him. "I heard it. From the detective." Jonah blinked, hands wrapped around his mug. "Did you call them back?" "I couldn't. They didn't answer. And now they're holding a funeral." He didn't ask the obvious question. Why are they so sure it's you? Because he knew something was off with my life even before I did. The identification was too fast, too neat. Dental records? I hadn't updated those in over a decade, and they didn't mention fingerprints or DNA. Why not? Because they didn't have any. Whoever buried her, whoever she was, wanted her to be me. The coffin was being lowered. Now. From the distance it looked like a dollhouse ritual, a little too formal, a little too rehearsed. I watched Carla reach out and touch the polished wood with the flat of her hand, just once. No tears. My breath caught. I knew that gesture. I'd done it at our grandfather's funeral. A silent farewell. But who were they really saying goodbye to? The woman in the grave wore my clothes, had my jewelry, died with my ID in her back pocket. So who was she? I needed to know, urgently. I waited until the crowd thinned, until Jonah circled back with his beat-up sedan, and we drove off in silence. I couldn't stay at his place, and he knew that. Too risky. So we parked at the overlook by Griffin's Hill, where the radio didn't reach and the wind never stopped moving. He leaned against the hood. I sat inside, knees pulled up, still watching the funeral in my head. Then he said, "Do you think it was Carla?" I stared at him. "What?" "I mean, don't freak out. But she's been off lately. You told me she was asking weird stuff, about your schedule, about your will." "She wouldn't," I said. "She's my sister." Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who know exactly how to pull it off. He wasn't wrong, but I didn't want to hear it. I started digging. Not literally, but close. Back at the cabin, I tore through everything I had. Records, receipts, emails, anything that might show if someone had access to my ID, dental files, even prescriptions, and then I found it, an appointment confirmation, a dental checkup I never made, logged under my name at a clinic I'd never been to. I traced the address. It was local. And the appointment? 2 weeks before my body was found. Someone had created a record, under my name, with someone else's teeth. They'd planned this. For months. The more I learned, the worse it got. The woman they buried, no one had actually seen her face. The casket had been closed for dignity. The police had taken the ID and dental as gospel. But I found the coroner's report. Jonah had a friend who owed him favors. The autopsy mentioned something odd. Old fracture on the right forearm, never healed properly. I blinked. That wasn't me. That was Carla. She broke her arm when we were kids, fell from the barn loft. It healed crooked. She used to joke it made her arm haunted, and that's when it hit me. They hadn't buried the wrong woman. They'd buried her. But if Carla was dead, who was standing at her funeral? I pulled out the photos Jonah had taken that morning. Zoomed in. The woman beside my mother. The stiff charcoal dress. The unreadable face. Something was off. The jawline was sharper. The ears, not quite the same. And the eyes. They were dark, but not Carla's dark. They were mine. Whoever she was pretending to be me. And the woman in the coffin wasn't me. She wasn't even a stranger. She was my sister. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the coffin again, but this time I saw Carla inside it, her face pale, her arm, the crooked one, barely visible beneath the sleeve, my jewelry on her fingers, my name on the plaque, but her body, and someone else wearing mine. The next morning I made Jonah drive me to the clinic, the one listed on that strange dental appointment confirmation. It was in a run-down strip mall sandwiched between a vape shop and a nail salon. The front window was painted over. No logo, no open sign. "Wait here," I told him, stepping out. He didn't argue, just kept the engine running, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel like he was holding in something unspeakable. The door creaked as I entered. The air smelled sterile. But wrong. Like bleach over decay. A woman at the front desk looked up. Mid-40s, strawberry blonde hair and a perfect knot. She wore a dentist's assistant uniform but no name tag. She blinked slowly, taking me in. "Do you have an appointment?" I hesitated. "I think I was here before, a few weeks ago." She studied me. "Too long." "Name?" I gave it. "Alison Sharpe." A flicker in her expression. Just a flash. Then nothing. She typed something into her computer. Yes, she said. You were here. Routine checkup. Dr. Malden saw you. I'd like to see the record, I said, stepping closer. To confirm it's mine. Patients can't access files without a release form, she said flatly. I'm not a patient, I replied, because I wasn't here. Someone else was, using my name. A pause. And then, without moving her eyes from mine, she slowly reached under the desk. I turned and walked out before she could pull out whatever she had down there. I ran. In the car, Jonah didn't ask questions. I was panting, hands trembling. She knew, I said. She knew it wasn't me who came in. They altered the dental record? No. They created it. Just enough to match someone else's teeth to mine. So who the hell is pretending? To be you? I turned to him. That's what we need to find out. Because that woman beside my mother at the funeral, that's not Carla. It's someone else. Someone who knew both of us. And she didn't just kill my sister. She buried her. Then climbed into my life like it fit. The deeper I looked, the worse it got. The bank accounts, frozen. The apartment, cleared out. Mail rerouted. My work ID had been used 3 days before the funeral, but not by me. And then Jonah got a message. It was from his burner email account, one he hadn't used in years. No subject line. Just an attachment, a photo of me, sitting on the cabin porch, drinking coffee. From 2 days ago. Who has this? I whispered. Jonah's face had gone white. There's no metadata. It's scrubbed. There was a second email, this time with one line of text. Play, dead or join her. I wasn't just being watched. I was being herded. Whoever this was, she wanted me silent, gone. She wanted to wear my life like a mask. Jonah was furious. We should go to the cops. They think I'm dead, I reminded him. They're burying me. And she's right there helping them do it. Then unbury yourself. That's when we made the plan. We started with my mom. She wasn't answering her phone. No surprise there. But I knew her schedule like I knew my own heartbeat. Every Wednesday afternoon, she bought orchids from the greenhouse off Thornbush Lane. It was her only indulgence. We waited in Jonah's car, engine off, the air thick, my breath shallow. At exactly 2:47 p.m., she pulled into the lot. Same car. Same routine. She stepped out in her floral jacket, moving slower than I remembered. I opened the door and got out. Jonah tried to stop me, but I couldn't. Wait. She looked up and dropped the orchids. Her hand flew to her mouth and she staggered backward. No, she whispered. No, this isn't real. I stepped closer, eyes full. It's me, Mom. Her knees buckled and I caught her. We sat in the car for over an hour. She cried without sound, her whole body shaking. Then she looked at me with an expression I hadn't seen since I was a child. A raw, protective ache. I saw you, she said. At the funeral, I touched the casket. It wasn't me. I knew something was wrong. But everyone said, I think it was Carla, I whispered. She flinched, and then shattered. No, she whispered. No. Carla wouldn't. Carla couldn't. I shook my head. It wasn't her. She's the one in the grave. Her silence was the longest I'd ever heard. That night I did something reckless. I walked into the cemetery. Jonah begged me not to. But I needed proof. We brought shovels. We waited until the moon was hidden behind thick clouds, and the motion light by the caretaker's shed had gone dark. It took an hour, then another, until the metal hit the wood. I almost threw up. Jonah broke the seal. The smell hit first. Sickly sweet, like rotten fruit and rust. But then I saw her face, and I knew. Carla, my sister, dead, wearing my necklace, with makeup painted on her like a lie. We called no one. Not yet. Jonah resealed the casket, reburied it like we hadn't touched it. We didn't even speak until the sun came up. Then I asked the question that had been building in my throat since the moment I saw her body. Why her? Jonah said nothing. Then he looked at me and said something I still can't forget. She looks like you. That was it. The answer was simple and terrible. She looked enough like me that someone made the swap, but not someone random, someone who knew both of us, someone close. We went through everything: photos, messages, names from the clinic, co-workers, neighbors, anyone who had access. Then we found her. Her name was Bethany Heller. She worked in records at the clinic. Quiet, smart, unremarkable, the kind of person you forget you've already met. But I hadn't forgotten. She was in 3 family photos: at a summer BBQ, at Carla's graduation, and once, at my birthday party 2 years ago. She wasn't a stranger. She was Carla's old friend from nursing school, and she'd been following us for years. Bethany vanished the day after the funeral. Her apartment cleared out. Her phone disconnected, but I wasn't done. I needed the world to see her for what she'd done, and to believe I was alive. We went to the police. It was a disaster. They didn't recognize me. The detective, Marlowe, looked at me like I was some scam artist, until I told him about the fracture, the dental switch, the photo. I showed him the exhumation pictures Jonah took. I told him I could prove the corpse was Carla. Still, he hesitated, until I showed him the final thing, a voicemail from Carla, time-stamped 4 days before the body was found. It was short and haunting. Ali, I think she's trying to be you. I don't know what's going on. She keeps asking weird things about your ID, your meds. Call me when you get this, please. That was enough. The coroner agreed to re-examine the body. DNA tests were ordered, and while we waited, the police issued a statewide bulletin for Bethany Heller, but she was already gone. Still, something strange happened. A week later, I received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. It simply said, "You were never supposed to come back. Now everyone will know what she did to you." There was no signature. But the handwriting? It was Carla's. It took weeks for the DNA confirmation to come back, but I didn't need the results to know what I already felt in my bones. The body buried under my name was Carla's, the woman walking through my old life, wearing my face like a second skin, was Bethany Heller. But the real mystery wasn't how she did it. It was why. The handwriting in the letter matched old birthday cards Carla had written me, curved loops, the way she slanted her lowercase t's. I stared at it for hours. Over and over, "You were never supposed to come back." It didn't make sense. Carla was the victim, so why did it feel like she had written that letter? Unless it was written before she died. I asked Jonah to help me break into Carla's laptop. It had been passed off to my mother after the funeral, just another piece of grief wrapped in technology. She hadn't opened it. We cracked the password in 20 minutes. Carla never used anything but our dog's name growing up, Hickory 82. What? We found hit like a punch to the chest. The folder was titled Proof. Inside were dozens of screenshots, PDFs, a scanned diary page, and one video file. We opened it. The screen flickered. Carla sat cross-legged on her bed, pale, shaky, eyes rimmed red. She looked scared. Her voice broke when she spoke. "If anything happens to me, if they find me dead, don't believe it was an accident." She paused, swallowed, then forced herself to go on. "There's someone, her name's Bethany. She used to be my friend, years ago, but she's not well. She showed up again last year, pretending to be someone else. I didn't recognize her at first, then I did. A cut in the video. A time jump. She's obsessed with Allie. I think she wants her life. I know it sounds crazy, but she's been trying to copy her. Hair, clothes, even her voice. She's been asking me about her prescriptions, where she shops, what her schedule is. And now Allie's gone. Her face cracked. I think she did something to her, or she's planning to. If anything happens to either of us, please find this. Don't let her win. I was shaking. My hands couldn't hold still. Carla had known. She'd tried to warn me. She'd seen Bethany for what she was, a woman who didn't just want to be part of my life, she wanted to be me. And now I knew how she'd done it. Bethany had used Carla to get to me, got close again, got her to gather information, maybe tricked her or threatened her, maybe worse. When Carla figured it out, Bethany eliminated her. Then she found a way to stage my disappearance, bury Carla under my name, and slip into my place. But one thing she hadn't counted on, that I would come back, that I would survive. The police took the video, the evidence, the letter, and finally they believed me. It wasn't just identity theft. It was murder. It was psychological reconstruction. It was a complete life hijacking. Detective Marlowe's hands trembled when he reviewed the footage. "We've got enough," he said. "It's just a matter of where she is now." They traced her last known locations: ATM footage, highway tolls, a fake ID used to check into a motel 2 states over. Every trace she left was a breadcrumb pointing one way. She was running. They found her 3 weeks later, in Missouri. She'd taken a job at a local urgent care, using the name Alison Sharpe. My credentials, my background. She passed the interview. She made friends. She hosted a game night. When the FBI arrested her, she was baking a birthday cake for her new neighbor's daughter. And when they questioned her, she smiled and said, "I don't know who you're talking about. I'm Alison." The trial was televised. I watched every second. Bethany refused to enter a plea. Her public defender submitted one for her. Not guilty by reason of insanity. They brought in psychiatrists, specialists, behavioral analysts. They debated if she had a personality disorder or if she'd orchestrated every detail in full lucidity. But the evidence was overwhelming. The fake records, the altered dental file, the photos, the surveillance footage, Carla's video confession, and me, alive. I testified on the 3rd day. I wore black, simple, no makeup, my real face, my real voice. Bethany didn't look at me, but I looked at her and I said, "You didn't just kill my sister, you erased her. You tried to erase me. But I'm still here. I remember who I am, and now everyone else will too." The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Verdict: guilty. Sentence: life in prison. No parole. After the trial, I went back to the cemetery, this time alone. The grave marker still said, Alison Sharpe. That would change soon, but not today. I stood over the spot where Carla lay, and for the first time since this began, I cried. Not because she was gone, but because no one knew she saved me. She saw the danger coming. She tried to stop it. She warned me, and in the end, she gave her life trying to protect mine. I ordered a new headstone, Carla M. Sharpe, beloved sister. Protector, fighter. You were right. I'm still here. A month later, I changed my name, not because I was afraid, not anymore, but because I didn't want to be a ghost in my own life. I started fresh. New place, new number, same eyes in the mirror, but different now. Wiser, sharper, less trusting, but not bitter. And every time I pass a mirror, I remind myself I'm not the one who disappeared. I'm the one who came back. They buried the wrong body, but I watched. And now the world knows the truth. I'm alive, and I'll never let her steal that from me again.